Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Dana. Welcome to my house in Virginia. Come on in. Can't wait to show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Scan the QR code to subscribe to our new channel, Weddingworthy, where we celebrate amazing couples and the love stories behind their perfect day.
Hi, I'm Dana Gibson, and I'm a product designer and an artist. Welcome to my home in Richmond, Virginia. Last night, my husband and I were trying to remember how long we'd been here, and it's been 7 years. The house is a Colonial Revival-style house built in 1912. The architect was D. Wiley Anderson, and he's done a number of houses around the city. It was built by a prominent businessman. He actually was in the tin ceiling business, and there are a few rooms that have his tin ceilings. The house has really good bones, but some things had fallen apart, like the front portico was completely caved in. The chimneys, there are 7 chimneys, they all needed to be rebuilt, and the roof was the original slate roof that wasn't gonna make it another 100 years. So when we first moved in, we didn't do a lot of gutting. I like to listen to the bones of a house and work with what is there. So we painted everything white our first 2 years, and then we started adding in layers of color and pattern, wallpaper, that sort of thing. When we bought this house, one of its charms or appeal to us was the original details, like pocket doors and original wood floors. There's an Egyptian tile floor in the sunroom. So we didn't want to, gut it. We wanted to use what was there and make it and bring it up for today. This is our left living room, and it's covered in this wallpaper I call Mum. I wanted a leafy trellis, and it's I think really a nice backdrop to some of the other elements in the room, like the green curtains and especially this fireplace. I love all the fireplaces in this house, but this tile is original to the house, and it really it sort of sparked a lot of other choices that I made throughout the house, bringing the greenery of the outside in and sort of accenting a lot of the rooms with green. It all came from this fireplace. Above the fireplace is one of my favorite lithographs it's a lithograph by Jane Freelicker, and my mother had it, and she gave it to me when she moved, and I love it. It's just, the colors are absolutely gorgeous, and all the colors are just me. The blue, the red, and the green, I just love that. The sofa was, I think it's gorgeous. I believe it's a Lexington sofa, and it's in this oyster white that picks up the other oyster white in the wallpaper. These chairs I had made, I had covered in a new fabric pattern called Camilla, and then this one, Lotus, I thought looked great together. It's not a great match, but I love mixing different greens and different patterns and different scales. So this again was one of my mother's finds. I think she found it in Maine, but it's a folk art goose or swan that I think is particularly classic and often can be found in antique stores coastally, and especially Maine. But what's kind of funny about it is when my dad was handing it over to me for me to have it, he closed the car door on it and he smashed the neck, which is so typical of him. But I could probably fix it, but that reminds me of my dad. Now we are in the sun porch, which is a glass covered room that again is original to the house. One thing that's wonderful about this room, not only the beautiful pane glasses, but the floor is Egyptian cement tile that actually was on the front porch of the house as well. So maybe that owner, Mr. Burton, had business doing Egyptian tiles too, but you can still buy this, certainly reclaimed Egyptian tile or something similar, which was what we had to use for the front porch because this was not available to us, especially not in there's the number of tiles that we needed for the front porch. So in this room, it's nice to like bring this round table in the middle and have supper out here in the winter. And this is one of my first big purchases. It's a hunt table. So this was used during a hunt, and because the riders were on horses, the food was served from high tables like this, and they wouldn't have to lean down too far to get something to eat. So I liked the history of this. This painting is by a Richmond artist named Amy Juilliard. I saw it and thought it was really vivid and wonderful, and so it was one of the first purchases I made for this house. Another thing in this room is I've got some furniture. I used to design furniture for a company, the MT company, and this is covered in a fabric. It's a classic ticking fabric that I came up with. It's very simple, but what's wonderful is we've been in this house for 7 years, and there's no fading, so that's incredible. It's not a sunbrella. It's just really good dyes in the fabric. So my husband is responsible for keeping the plants alive. He didn't trust me, so he took over completely. Takes him probably about an hour to water everything, but it's sort of his hobby. One thing I liked about what I've done to this room, I really like these stag plaques that I just found. It was at High Point. There's an antique dealer and he does them, but I like that contrast of you've got the pretty blue and white and the leafy greens, but then you've got, a dark, mean-looking stag. So I love juxtaposition like that. One choice that I made when we started painting the house white, some of the ceilings are painted in a light sky blue, like this one here. It's done often in southern homes, and it's called haint or something, but you have to find a really nice sky blue, very soft. And I did it in one of the living rooms in the front of the house, in this room, and in this porch that I'll show you later. This is called Cliveden, and it's a lamp that's been very popular for me. And it comes in 4 colors, but the green, I think, is stunning. And it just mimics Gracie wallpaper, that Chinese garden feel. So I love mixing in florals with stripes and small scale ditzy prints. And I think having fun with pattern is really a great way to make your house become dynamic. So I was looking for high ceilings, and I walked into this house, and it definitely has the high ceilings. They're 11 feet. I really didn't need that much, but I had been in a 1950s house and the ceilings were 8 feet, and I tried to get my husband to carve out a sunken living room, but he wouldn't do it. So we bought this house, fell in love with it, walking up the stairway in the front of the house. And it needed a lot of work, but my husband is a contractor, so it's right in our wheelhouse. Now we're going across the house into our front hall, which was where I first fell in love with this house. I remember walking up these stairs and looking around down at this floor. plan, and I went, wow, if I could have this house, I'd be a very lucky lady. And thankfully, since I have a contractor husband, I was able to get that make that dream come true. All the lighting is original to the house as well. This is a really beautiful chandelier, and there are a lot of other chandeliers in the house. This was something I purchased for the house, a Scandinavian bench. I love Scandinavian furniture. I don't know why, I really just respond to it. My first purchase of a chair was a Scandinavian chair, and I'll talk about that, or it looks like a Scandinavian chair. So this one bought off first dibs, and it was I think it's lovely. I am in the process of adding to this gallery wall. It's not finished. I just put my favorite pieces up there. And one was this Hunt Slonim art piece, which his work is so gestural. I have no regrets about buying it. I think it's just charming. And this is some other pieces by artists I like. My mother had this in her house, this sort of cameo ceramic plate, which I think is gorgeous. When we first moved in, I really didn't know what to do with this space. It's not big enough for a table in the center, which I was hoping for. I did have a decorator help me with curtains and bedding and some choices for furniture. So one of the things she said to me, her name is Sarah Hillary, she said, well, you've got so many antiques, why don't you mix it in with some more modern pieces? And I thought that piece of advice was golden. It was really smart because I think that juxtaposition again with old and new makes a house come to life. This piece is by Oomph, and then the Murano mirror is something my husband and I purchased when we were traveling abroad. So just mixing the more modern line it's certainly traditional, but it's modern, with the old mirror is one thing that makes this space sort of come alive. When we bought the house, the floors were, rough, so we needed to redo them. But again, it's such an old house that they're very thin. So I have always loved white painted floors, and they brighten up a house. I wish I could paint all the floors in this house in this white floor paint, but it's actually pretty costly. So I stuck just to the front room, and the diamond pattern sort of mimics marble floors. It's just an old world kind of pattern that's not gonna be too demanding on the eyes. It kind of just fades away. It just hints at that old world feel that I wanted the front room to have. I'm very casual, but I like drama, and I love color and pattern, and so you'll see a lot of different patterns working together. It's not overtly colorful. It is colorful, I think, in a strategic way. I love walking through the rooms and love the spaciousness of it. I don't have a lot of knickknacks, even though I'm in the knickknack industry. I pulled in a few for this for Homeworthy, but I like an open floor plan. I like loft living. So in a way, this house has all that airiness that I would like if I lived in a loft in New York City. And I think that's what I like the most, is just the airiness of it. Now I'm walking into the living room we use most often. I don't know, everybody seems to gravitate toward this room. One thing that most people comment on is the pink curtains, which Sarah Hillary helped me with. I sent her on a goose chase to find the perfect pink. But what's interesting, it's a natural silk, it's fuchsia color. But I said I liked the reverse side of it, not the side that was supposed to be front and center. I think it had more blues in it, so it wasn't as corally. So These curtains were beautifully done, so that's my favorite part of what Sarah Hillary helped me with. So these sofas were in our other house, and they're very low. The profile's very low, and I didn't know if they'd work, but I think having the high ceilings and this very salon-like feel to the two sofas, it's working for me. The ceiling is painted in the light sky blue, and I haven't touched the paint in here. We started, it's all white by Farrow and Ball. There's no mud or color to it, really. It's just white, a very sanitary white, which I love for this room. It gets great light. There's some art in this room that I am particularly proud of and happy to have in my possession. The one portrait is by my great-grandfather, and I was given it when I was in my teens, and it's been in every house that I've had. Last house we had it in the kitchen, and she sat and looked over us just beautifully. It did inspire the paint curtains, and I think really pulls this room together. Another painting by him is this. It's called Camden. Charles Dana Gibson used to spend a lot of time up in the Northeast in Maine, and near Dark Harbor. So that's, and Camden is one of the towns up there that I think or the Camden Hills. Here is a lot of work for my mom, except for this. This is, I think every room needs a little humor and something to take the formality down, not make it so precious. And this is like an odalisque, a woman who's not very well covered, but it also is sort of a collage with little mirrors, and the colors are absolutely stunning. I love that orange and the blue and the pink, but I also love the colors of my mother's paintings as well. So the desk is one I bought from our local fabulous antique dealer named Kim Faison, and she sources everything from Europe. But I was joking with her, and I said I was going to paint the inside of it white, and she almost died, I think, because you don't mess with an antique like that. So, and I was just kidding her. But it is beautiful. I love, like I said, Swedish furniture, and I love the pattern. I love folk art, and anytime I find something like this, I would snatch it up. And I think it's a perfect part of this room. This is crazy. This piece I found at an antique store for $50, and it was gray, and then someone had painted the fabric, which a lot of people do in the design world. They paint the fabric just because they don't want to pay the money to reupholster, so they painted it white. And I decided one day just to paint, this is my tulip pattern in chartreuse, and I think it came out beautifully. It's not very comfortable, but for an occasional chair, it's perfect. So I do that a lot. If I have something that's not important, it's not like a fine piece like this. You get the vintage feel of the original, but you've sassed it up, you've made it modern. And the term used to be upcycled it, which I think is a horrible term. But and then I added some gilding, so that cost me about $50 and a few hours of labor. Now another piece, I think if I am a collector of anything, I'm a collector of chairs. I'm so drawn to chairs for some reason, and I probably have way too many. But this is I was telling you about when I started my Swedish fetish. I found this at an he's an upholsterer, and he had this in his basement, and it wasn't covered or anything. And I loved the lines of it, and I probably did a little gilding on it, and then I covered it in this one of my first patterns called multi-icat. And I've taken it from house to house, and it really works as that punch of color. These are sconces. I call them the Margot sconce, and I have them in a few different rooms, and I love them. They're very they're very subdued and they can go in a lot of different situations. So it's been a good product for me. This table was in my parents' house, and it was made by a sculptor that my mom knew named Tom Chenoweth. And I think they had him make it. It's so simple. I have always loved it because it was always in their living room. But I did want it to have a little more bling, so it was sort of a cherry red or really burnt red, blood red. And I gilded it using gold leaf, so pretty easy to do. You just put some sticky glue on it, and then it can really brighten up old pieces of furniture. Now we are in what I call the TV room, which is our den, and we spend a lot of time in here. One thing I've always had my husband make whenever we move into a new house, because there never seems to be bookshelves. So it took about 5 years for him to get the bookshelves up. So he built these, and I just love books warm up a room, and the knickknacks that we have on them are so special. So that just sort of finished the room for me. This is a sofa that I found, or I love it. It's by Row Furniture. I think it's called the Madeline sofa, but it's so super comfortable. And I went on Etsy to find a ottoman. I fell in love with these sofas from England, but it's hard to send a sofa from England to America. So I did find somebody who made these ottomans with the same sorts of English legs, and it's got a very classic ticking on it. Something interesting in this room here, this is a chair that I also inherited from my mother years and years ago, and at one point I had to cover it. And my sister, who was at one point, she's an artist now, but she was a decorator back then, she said, I had this idea, I wanted this really flashy big pattern to go on it. And she goes, no, we need a stripe. We need something simple, something that will be there for you forever. And so she convinced me, and I didn't like it for about 10 years, but I love it now, obviously, because it goes so well with this room. And I think she was, as a decorator, perfectly right. I mean, absolutely right about what to do on how to cover pieces of furniture and have them last through many metamorphoses. So this one certainly has done that. The room is ensconced in this wallpaper that I call it Esme. It's one of my designs, and it's a pretty classic medallion, but instead of having paint, I think it gives the walls some texture, and there's so much warmth in this room that it plays a big role in that. So I like to go flea market shopping, and I found this painting. It was $300. I mean, the frame itself is worth 3 times that, but it did have a little nick, and I just painted over the woman's fan that she has there, and I love having portraits in my house. So this, it's a wheel chandelier, and I wanted something rustic for this room. It did not come with its own chandelier, so we needed something, and there are so many chandeliers in this house, we didn't need anything fancy again, but we did need something with heft. This is from Shades of Light, which is a local lighting company, but they sell everywhere. And it comes in different sizes, and it adds that rustic touch. One of the things I absolutely love about this room is this rhinoceros painting, print. But I think a decorator said, you don't want that there, but I love this hefty monster of an animal in this room. I think it sets the tone in this room. So now we're in the kitchen. It is a big kitchen, and it was a big kitchen when we bought the house. The prior owners were foodies, I think, and really did a lot to the kitchen. And we changed some things, switched out their island. We kept their fancy restaurant-style oven, which works beautifully. We also inherited a wok, which we are still learning how to use, but it's a nice, you can't get rid of it, that's the problem. But so sometimes we'll have parties with, we'll have a wok party. This, I did put in this tile, which is, I think you can get it at Floor and Decor, and unfortunately I saw it in a lot of places after I chose it, but I still love it. I like the black and the white, and I love a white kitchen. So this is a little platter I painted, which I like with the black and white. So I hung it. So when we got the house, there was another cabinet right here. There's cabinets all over. So I have so much storage, it's not funny. But we got rid of the cabinet because it just was sort of in our face. We wanted to make the room more open. Like I said, I love openness and loft-like living. And this, I think I got it at Restoration Hardware. I'm not sure if they still have them, but, and I did start collecting brown and white transferware. It's hard to find, especially, the pretty stuff. So I would joke that I had 2 pieces and I couldn't find any more, but I love the brown and the white. And another really important feature of this room is the Roman shades, and you can see wallpaper. It is in a pattern called Fig Leaf, I believe, by Peter Dunham, and it is classic. You see it in a lot of houses. I don't think I ever don't like it in a house. It's just so stunning and calming and authentic, I think is a word for it. So I definitely made a splurge, and Sarah Hillary had these beautiful Roman shades made. You can see here that we've got a wall of cabinets and a little space for eating. And what I love is a fireplace in the kitchen, which we use a lot in the winter, especially, obviously. But it really does warm this rather large lab-like kitchen. It's beautiful when the fireplace is on. Again, my mother's harvest table, a farmer's, she had it in all of her houses, and what's unusual about it is it's very thin. Usually you'll have a harvest table and it's that, and it's so slender and graceful. I love this table from her house. Over the fireplace is a portrait of my grandmother by my great-grandfather. So Charles Dana Gibson painted a portrait of his daughter-in-law, and her name was Parthenia Gibson. This was in my grandparents' dining room, and I always loved it. I love the purple, soft purple, and the dress that she's wearing, her green arms, which maybe it needs to be cleaned, but I love her green arms. So my mother was a wonderful artist, but she also had a beautifully appointed house. So I grew up in a house very similar to this one. In fact, the layout is almost identical. I was exposed very early on to beautiful rooms. When I went to college, I didn't think art was gonna get me anywhere, that I'd be poor, and I didn't want to be poor. So I was more practical and got degrees in English and went to grad school. But in the summers when I was teaching high school English, I would take ceramic lessons, and I just was in my element. That's how I began to make home products. I started with a set of dinnerware, moved on to beautiful sculpted soup tureens, and it was so different than a lot of other people that were working in pottery. I was pretty successful getting it into stores. Flash forward 10, 15 years, I'm moving from ceramics to two-dimensional design or surface design, and that's been so much fun. I definitely want people to feel welcome when they step into my home. It is a very grand house, and that makes it unusual, but it's also fun and lively and has a lot of humorous touches, like in the art. We've got some nudes and we've got some whirligigs and some folk art, and so it's high-low. The best compliment somebody could give me about our home is that they feel comfortable here. They feel like they are being entertained a little bit, that it's an experience that makes them feel like they're walking into something new and different, and that they're gonna have fun. So this is the porch my husband added on, or we added on together. We were going to screen it in, but we enjoyed it so much being open, and the breeze, and it's harder to keep clean, but maybe one day we'll screen it in, but so far it's been really very delightful. My idea for doing this space was sort of have it look like it was old furniture collected, old wicker furniture that was maybe in an attic on a main porch or something. I love this. This is I found it on the side of the road, didn't cost me anything, and I have this cushion made for it, and it's very comfortable. And that's the fabric on the chairs is my design. It's kind of like that chartreuse design that was in our living room, but it's in blue and white. Yeah, I love lamps on a porch. That's one of my favorite things, because at night it just warms it all up, and yeah, I love that too. This is a nostalgic piece. It's a table that my grandmother had, the woman who was just in the portrait in the kitchen. She had this on her front porch, and all the cousins would sit around it and eat tater tots, and I loved it. She'd always have a nice geranium in that little special place there. So I definitely have taken this piece from house to house. So this is our dining room, and this room probably needed the most work when we moved in. The ceilings, they were coffered back then, but they were completely falling off the ceiling. So my husband redid the coffering on the ceiling, and I decided to paint it pink because my aunt said pink's very flattering in the candlelight, so I think that was the idea to make this a cozy dining space. I'm very casual. I don't pull out. I don't have a lot of placemats or tablecloths. So it's pretty basic whenever I'm going to have people over. And usually we'll have 6 or 7 people around this table. What I did for today was just I pulled out some family silver, and these I think I got from Target many, many years ago. These are Juliska, which I love, a simple Juliska plate. And I love color, and I can think that reflects pretty clearly here that we're using the same colors I'm always drawn to, which is orange, pink, green, blue. I like brown too, chartreuse. Every color just makes my heart really happy when I see a good color. These are Moroccan glasses. I've got about a dozen, and sometimes they're not expensive, but the colors are jewel-like and beautiful. And sometimes I'll just put some flowers in them when somebody's sick. They're just great gifts to give somebody. So when I was trying to figure out what kind of pattern or fabric I wanted for the room, it took me a while, but again, like ticking, buffalo check is just a classic. So, and I love brown. I think brown goes very well with pops of color. These have what I asked the seamstress to do ballet ties on them and make it like a skirt, so they're very flirty. I did get these chairs specifically for this room. They are Swedish, Scandinavian, classic or traditional chairs. Don't look too close because it is slanting a little bit. This was in my grandmother's, Parthenia's, dining room, and that's where all the drinks were. And I guess I was this little looking up, and I thought it was really high, but the Dubonnet and the bourbon and all the sugary mixers that you put in drinks, that's what they did on a Sunday afternoon. So it means a lot to me to have this butler's tray, and it's really old. It does need some work, and we'll get it done at some point. This clock is from Kim Faison, and I needed something to fill the corners in the room. In fact, we bought it and put it immediately over in this corner right here, but I'm doing some changing to a few rooms up there. This Chinese screen we just pulled down, and I think it works wonderfully in this room. Initially, I painted this room green, as you might have guessed, but so the Chinese screen was supposed to go in the room. It didn't work, so I took it up to a bedroom, and now it's back down because we've painted the walls white. Another thing that we did to this room was we put the wainscoting in. I like it a little high. It does make it harder to place art because you can't really put it very naturally on it, although this is kind of working, I think. Over here, I guess I was going with this Scandinavian Swedish thing, so I have my fake ancestors in oval portraits that I did just to, it's stage setting. So I think they add to it. Her face I've had to paint a few times because she's now looks like she has a tan. But anyway, so they're not authentic, they're not real, they're just me doing what I do, which is decorative arts. This room is the guest bedroom, and I think it turned out well. This room has beautiful light, but it needed some coziness, so this pattern is called Berger, and it's based on Belgian tapestries. There's a very popular, very beautiful one by Scalamandre, but mine's a little different, and so I think it worked well for this room. We got the bed on Craigslist and had it painted this green again, which is starting to sound monochromatic, but I think sometimes you need a color to thread through your house to tie the parts of the different parts together. So it was a natural choice. The lamp is one of mine, and it's called it's a pattern. It's a small pattern called Beaufont, and it's been a really popular pattern for me. The chairs I just bought at a local store, and they fit in this blue and white and green theme. These curtains are just linen, but this I really love the trimming here is called Guadalupe, and it's available through Stroheim. I did a collection for them a few years ago. They're still selling some patterns. They're definitely selling all the trim. And this is actually a reproduction of one of our favorite portraits our great-grandfather did, Charles Dana Gibson. The real portrait's about twice that size, and it's got a lot of crackling because they digitized it right in the beginning of digitizing. It was like 25 years ago. So it's not held up, but I think it looks great in this room and gives it some elegance. And the room opens up to a sort of study and a again, the webbing on the windows is part of the charm and beauty of this house. All the glass in the house, if you look at it, is still wavy. I mean, I think 1 or 2 panes have been replaced, but that's another reason why we really like this house. I've discovered this Taylor's linens, and the sheets are so crisp. And what I like to say is you can hear them fold. They're just crackly and beautiful, and they wear so well. So I just have simple lace trimmed pillowcases. This, I think, was Matuk, and I got it off of 1 Kings Lane. Well, home is really the place where your family spends time together. We bought this house a year before COVID hit, and my boys came back from college, and it was wonderful because we all had space. But I think that's the most important thing about a house, is that it holds not only the things that you love, but the people you love.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.